Football is a sport that transcends culture, race, nationality, and political affiliations, so it is generally considered a unifying factor. Football might have a reputation for bringing several people together. Nonetheless, in the football world, not everyone is cool with each other. In very much the same way as people in the same sector and even in the same workplace sometimes have a bone of contention, it appears some footballers do not see eye to eye. These are 12 football players who hate each other. Alf-Inge Haaland and Roy Keane. Lots of football fans in this generation might not know who Roy Keane really is and what he was famous for. Right now, to most people, he is simply a retired sportsman. However, to those that know him, he is perhaps one of the most aggressive players the world has seen, and due to his aggressive style, he got into so many heated confrontations with different players.
Coincidence or not, that was my last 90 minutes in England. Is that a coincidence or isn't it?
Roy Keane of Holland.
I haven't played a full 90 minutes after that incident, and that's the hard fact.
Some ended on the pitch. Others, however, developed into very bad blood, and one of the players Roy Keane had bad blood with was Alf-Inge Haaland, who happens to be Erling Haaland's father. In 1997, Roy attempted to tackle the older Haaland but got injured in the process. However, Haaland thought he was pretending and mocked him. Keane was out for a long time and met Haaland again in a match 4 years later. Just like their previous meeting, he came in hard and this time he succeeded in injuring Haaland, who just couldn't continue with football after this. Things would have been okay if the injury was an honest mistake. However, Roy intentionally took out Haaland and did not even hide this fact, and this birthed some ugly feud between the two players. Wayne Bridge and John Terry. Sometimes, bad blood between footballers has nothing to do with their actions on the pitch. Unlike Haaland and Roy Keane that got into a brawl because of football-related activities, John Terry and Wayne Bridge became enemies not because of anything football-related. They became enemies because Terry just didn't know where to draw the line when relating with women he was not in a relationship with. Terry betted Bridge's ex, Vanessa Parencel, and Bridge just couldn't move past this betrayal easily. Well, Terry did not just sleep with Vanessa, he also got her pregnant and made her abort the pregnancy. Although Terry wanted to sweep things under the carpet, everything blew up in his face and the entire football world took Bridge's side except super loyal Chelsea fans. Maxi Lopez and Mauro Icardi. Speaking of players becoming enemies because of one not respecting set boundaries, Maxi Lopez and Mauro Icardi went from best of buddies to enemies because Icardi got into an affair with Maxi Lopez's wife. So if you think Terry was a bad guy, I'm not sure what you would think of Icardi. Now, Icardi did not just have an affair with Maxi Lopez's wife. After the affair led to a divorce between Maxi Lopez and his wife, Icardi went on to make things worse by marrying her. Oguchi Onyewu and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It is common knowledge that Zlatan has his way with words. However, it appears he is always able to go on without getting into any trouble because not many footballers might be willing to get into a confrontation with him. Well, unlike other footballers, it did not seem like former USMFT's defender was scared of getting into a confrontation with Zlatan.
Heard it again.
As both players clashed in training, after Zlatan said Onyewu looked more like a heavyweight boxer than a player. We are not sure of the state of things at the moment. However, in 2010, their brawl was very big news. Patrice Evra and Luis Suarez. Suarez and Ibrahimovic perhaps do not have a lot in common, but they are both great prolific goal scorers and might need to do some work on their attitudes. And like Ibrahimovic,
Time as United revelled in a 2-1 victory, Luis Suarez had scored Liverpool's goal in reply to Wayne Rooney's double. Evra's celebrations at the Stretford end saw referee Phil.
Suarez has gotten into confrontations with quite a number of players, and Patrice Evra is just one of them. If you think Suarez dug his teeth into Evra's arm as he did with Ivanovic, you were wrong. He did not have to use his teeth. He simply racially abused Evra in a match played between Manchester United and Liverpool in October 2011. The Uruguayan called Evra Negrito severally, and this did not sit well with Evra. In his defense, Suarez claimed this term was affectionate. Nonetheless, he ended up with an 8-match ban. Emre Belözoğlu and Didier Zokora. Still on racial abuses, Evra is just one of the many players that have been victims of racism, and the football world is not comfortable with this. So beyond match bans, some players have had to face even tougher penalties, and one of them is Emre Belözoğlu. The Turkish defender had to stay in prison for 2 months because he racially abused Ivory Coast's Didier Zokora. Planet Football is not sure Emre had to face a
Tansiyon yine yükseldi. Zokora'nın yaptığı bu hareket Emre Belezoğlu'na.
Such a tough penalty merely because he racially abused Zokora, there is a likelihood his punishment was stiff because he had been involved in racial comments while in England, so it appears he needed to learn a lesson. Emre Belezoğlu has probably danced the music for his actions, but we can only assume Didier Zokora has forgiven him. Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira. Roy Keane was considered a no-nonsense player while in United, and if you think Sergio Ramos is tough, then maybe you needed to have seen Roy Keane in his days. Well, due to his aggression, Keane was very successful. No one really wanted to cross his path or get too comfortable with the ball around him. As much as this worked well for his team, it made him lots of enemies, and former Arsenal player Vieira was one of them. The two powerhouse midfielders were rivals for a long time. However, this is quite understandable as their teams, Arsenal and Manchester United, were some of the biggest in England at the time and they had similar traits, so they were bound to clash each time their teams met. The next set of footballers that hated each other were teammates, but before we go on, like and share this video if you are yet to do so. William Gallas and Kolo Touré. Kolo Touré and William Gallas once stood in the heart of the Arsenal back four and provided a big shield for the Arsenal goalie. However, these two well-respected fullbacks refused to speak to each other for a long time. For a while, it seemed like they were both cool with each other. However, in their last season as a defensive pair, they both refused to communicate, and this weakened Arsenal's campaign that season. It might be difficult to say exactly what caused their bad blood. However, Gallas's loss of the captain's armband is considered one of the reasons they became enemies. Things got so bad that Touré decided to leave the club before the end of the campaign. Well, his boss did not agree with him, so he stayed on and completed the season before joining Manchester City. With this, it seemed like Gallas would stay on at Arsenal for a long time, but he too left after a season and joined Tottenham. Kolo has revealed that things are better between them, but what they have now is just a professional relationship. Álvaro Arbeloa and Gerard Piqué. In their active days, Gerard played for Barcelona while Arbeloa played for Spain, and the two of them contributed their quota to Spain's success in the 2010 World Cup. Piqué was a Barcelona man and seemed to have issues with every Madrid player, and Arbeloa was not left out. It seemed like their fight was because of the rivalry between Madrid and Barcelona, but it was not just on the pitch. Even on social media, the two former Spanish internationals were enemies. However, it appears things are a lot better now, as Piqué had some good words for Arbeloa before his last game as a Madrid player and even wished him well. Teddy Sheringham and Andy Cole. If you think Gerard Piqué and Álvaro Arbeloa could have done better, I'm not sure what you would think of Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham, who were both teammates at United and the English national team. They were strike partners in Manchester United for 4 years and seemed to have great chemistry on the pitch. One would think they were best of pals. However, the amazing thing is these two players never cared about each other. It is still funny how their feud did not affect their performance on the pitch, as they both won a Champions League with Manchester United. Teddy has not said much about their feud, but Cole links it to his debut for the Three Lions and Sheringham's attitude towards him. Ousmane Dabo and Joey Barton. Joey Barton and Ousmane Dabo both played for Manchester City, and Dabo got assaulted by Joey during training. Things were so bad, Joey had to do 4 months in prison because of his action towards his teammates. The two players have both given their accounts of what happened between them, and their accounts are actually different. Ousmane even went on to call Joey a coward, and this suggests the two former Manchester City players are still enemies. Jens Lehmann and Oliver Kahn. Kahn and Lehmann were some of the best goalkeepers of their era. They both did well at club level. However, Kahn was considered better on the international scene and was Germany's #1 for a long time, until 2006 when a new coach picked Lehmann over him. Kahn could not deal with sitting on the bench and called out his coach. Jens responded, and this led to some form of bad blood between the two powerhouse goalies. They have both long retired, so it is normal to assume they have settled their differences. And we have come to the end of this video. Which of these enmities do you consider the most unnecessary? Tell us in the comment section below. Also, subscribe to this channel to get similar content. See you in the next video.